Okay, I'm jumping ahead here to the ending of the relationship. So we did the relationship, talk about the transits and things, we saw it. So here we're looking to, so he meets Jung at the end of the complex of this guilty, complex person with this complicated lifestyle. Oh yeah, the other thing is that Freud was his wife's therapist. And his in a way, so they became a triangle between all this running around between the therapy and these overlapping of relationships. So Freud was close to Jung's wife. That's how Freud came into a circle, probably. And how anyways, they started a relation, they built it up, and okay, he's extending on that. And they both have an influence on his wife. They're both like, it's fascinating. Make for a good book or movie, but anyways, it's a good astrology chart to get you thinking. Now, this is where it comes to the ending of it. It changes to the 6 degrees of Virgo, which is a hexagram called dispersion dissolution. It's Virgo, it goes into a Scorpio pentan. Virgo, the Scorpio pentan. This is with Freud. This is not his wife. Now it's what he's been with Freud. He's been traveling with Freud, leaving the wife at home, maybe having affairs or other things while he's traveling. Just 2 different worlds. That's the home. This is the escape. But the moon was in Scorpio. Like he was this 09. He just came back from his first trip with his trip with Freud to America, or he's starting it there. And this is Scorpio. They're doing things. They're judgmental around it. There's powerful Scorpio energy inside this Virgo. It's not analytical. It's doing things. Judgment is building up. Repression is very Freudian in building up this anger and repression. So really, to understand the Jung-Freud relationship, you almost have to put it into Freudian terms of repression and rejection and how these things play out. It would make the perfect story. So in this section, dispersion, dissolution, builds up. When it built up, it went through it's going through the Scorpio thing. Inside that, it was Scorpio, subpentan, then Sag, Capricorn, Aquarius. Okay, so this is the night force, and the Virgo force, the summer force. So all of this is nighttime increasing darkness. It's about relationships, about being together, holding together. The attitude was going towards belonging, or being together, and it's not working. It's not working. It's not working. There's the Virgo. It's not working. It's critical. The critical element is coming there. Got to say something. Got to say something. How do you communicate it? It didn't get communicated in 2011, but it did by 2012. So in this process, it went through the next section of dispersion dissolution, went through line 6, line 5, line 4, and in line 4, he would have ended the relationship. So I thought it'd be worth looking at these hexagrams within this. I don't want to look at them all. I just want to look at the first level. We can go deeper into this, but I'm just going to. There's only so much time, and I want to go further here. So, oops. This is dispersion dissolution. This is a theme from 2009, and it would go on till about 2015. So this is certainly his whole relationship. Well, not the first 2 years, but the relationship from traveling to America and then the splitting up was tied up within this one. Wind above the water, wood above, water below. Gentleness without discrimination within. They're trying to get along, they're going things. Words over water can be heard from a great distance. Must not one then be cautious about what one says? So the idea of having to be cautious, Freud was not open to his mystical ideas or synchronistic ideas, and he had to be cautious about talking about them. And anytime he did, he would get rebuked or put down by Freud. Wind over the water, a ship at sea, wind on the sails, good movement, great ideas must be printed gently. Well, they were on their trip presenting great ideas, but there was many problems can be solved through sympathetic discussions. And do not clasp names, get on board, follow momentum. Well, they didn't have sympathetic discussions. By this time, they were adverse to each other and casting blame. Follow the momentum. They were at a dissonant side. The judgment, gentle without, discriminating within, sensitive in one's interactions with others, critical about one's own worthiness. He is being put down for his beliefs, which were somewhat confusing to begin with and probably, possibly, even deserving of criticism. If one improves self now, it makes me reflect, because all the things he was getting into, the occult, the mystical, the I Ching, the astrology, these things, I'm identified to completely. So he has a following around it. But when you look at the seeds of this, whoa, it doesn't look like critical about his own worthiness is probably appropriate. If one improves oneself, there'll be a gentle penetrating influence on those around you. Soothing words, no dark thoughts are spoken. A good example is worth 1,000 words. But if he wasn't being a good example, it wasn't getting support, and the Martian rejection or repression was building. He's got a negative take on this. They can't get past. And from his viewpoint, that would be rightly so, because he was half there. And building up he's there to study, to build up his own thing, not to support Freud, although Freud was thinking he was there to be his prodigy and take his stuff. So, growing responsibilities. Like a ship at sea, one is driven by the needs of the day. Duty will be the wind on your sails. You will be known for your ability and your work ethic. Complete what you start. Do not let others down. Good words about you will spread and increase opportunities. Good work will be rewarded. So he had it all set up. He's with Freud, he's traveling, he's being encouraged, he's building up his career and his status based on being with Freud, yet there's an inner fight with Freud. Okay, now I want to just go through these lines from 6, when they're traveling together, to coming back and getting through the next year, 5, and then getting into 4 by the time it finally, they end the association. Okay, so 6, this would be 09 until August 09 to August 15th of 1910. One complains and says too much. This is just coming by the end of back of the trip. One draws attention to the problems of others. It would be wiser to let it go. If limits are not respected, what good could come? Keeping still, repeated. Any movement of the tongue is dangerous. There is nothing positive. If there's nothing positive to say, then nothing should be said. One talks too much and tries to direct the affairs of others. If worries are externalized, credibility will be damaged. So this is really his whole theme of coming back. This struggle was going on in his soul about his relationship with Freud. It was what was happening. Then it evolved, it morphed into the next line. Oops, nope, the other way. Morphed into the 5th line. And in his 5th line, during the 5th line, sometime in here, it's probably still in the 4th line when that happens. Okay, this is, words have power, movement is easy, like a sailboat in the wind. The best advance requires some self-control. Do not get distracted, do not gossip. Well, it's interesting because in this time, the initial problems, the disassociation, apparently Jung got caught in talking about some rumors about Freud, which got back to Freud, which had been saying he'd been sleeping with he let his sister-in-law move in to his house because she didn't have a place, and the rumor was that he got her pregnant and then she had an abortion, and this is the whole scandal. Whether it was true or not, I don't know, but by the time he came back to Freud, he felt that he should not be saying these things. I think it wasn't true, but if it was, like, he was just trying to help probably, but he wrote after that and stewing on that for all, he wrote a letter to Freud saying, let's stop our friendship. Let's stop our personal association. So that came first. And then shortly thereafter it came Freud, a Jung detaching professionally and saying just on my own. So there was 2 stages of let go. Both of them had difficult times during being together. It was not an easy relationship. Yeah, mental ideal was there. and then they didn't live up to it. So there was a big letdown for both. To draw attention to oneself will invite stagnation. To support others will invite success. This is Jung's chart. Holding steady, firm in, so he held steady, he didn't draw attention to himself, he took it. Firm in what is honorable, everyone's kept busy, there's no need for harsh words. But he had the Martian repression going on at this time. He'd already been put down too much. He wasn't getting what he wanted. He'd already had his defenses up as much as he could take. So let me go up to the next one. This is the one where everything breaks through the line in the fourth place. If you're looking at this as events, you wouldn't predict this was going to happen. It's by seeing, observing what's happening and how that's not going with the flow. You can see the circumstances and the way these energies were being dealt, and I find it incredibly useful. This is the part where it goes into. This is the part where he finally ends the relationship with Freud. One hears many things. It is not appropriate to repeat them. The greater the excitement is, the greater the complications will be. The greater the complications will be. It is important to align with what is right. People gather to enjoy. By sharing perspective will be improved, and goodwill will increase. Listen well. Speak when spoken to. Be patient. The right response requires receptivity. Let others go first. Well, this was in this period. His progressive was at a point where I can't talk. I'm trying to communicate what I want to communicate. It's being blocked. But this time, Freud is a negative archetype or factor within oneself he's fighting against. And rather than being caught in this, he would break it to just, he'd say he ended the relationship so that it could go on. You know, it would force the communication. If you go to the next one, which could have been when they actually, if he broke up, I'm not sure when he broke up, it might have been in the fall. If it was in the fall, it would have gone into line 3, which looks from here almost more appropriate.